Είναι τα podcast της Athens Voice.
And along with it has come a new freedom of expression.
Hi all, this is the podcast Sundays of the World that we produce and air through Athens Voice. I am Nίκos Παναγιώτου, and together with my colleague Χρήστος Φραγκονικολόπουλος, this Sunday we have the honor to have a distinguished guests that they will actually present themselves, with whom we will discuss the topic of Greek and Turkish media and their role in foreign policy. I will pass the floor to the first of our guests, Aret, Demirci. Aret.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nikos, for this kind introduction and also for the invitation to this podcast. My name is Aret Demirci and I'm working as project advisor for the Friedrich Naumann Foundation, which is a liberal political foundation based in Germany but acting in a global scale. Let me give you some information as a background, why we do this, how this all started. I mean, the first step was done in December 21 when distinguished experts from Turkey and Greece came together in Istanbul to talk about how can we promote or trigger Turkish-Greek dialogue on a media level or civil society level. Someone who has worked in the Turkey project before and now for the Greece project, so I have contacts to both countries, to people from both countries. This was a good advantage, I would say. And then we started this dialogue in Istanbul in December 21. As one concrete step of this, we did a visiting program to Germany last week, to Berlin, with distinguished journalists and people from the academia, but who are dealing with the media, to Germany. So there were people from Greece and from Turkey, and the topic was the polarization of media in both countries. Although very different, Turkey and Greece, one can say that both countries have huge problems when it comes to media and press freedom, and there's a huge and extreme polarization in the media, kind of a partisan media in both countries. And this has some implications for the societies as well, and also for the bilateral relations between Turkey and Greece. So it's almost, I mean, maybe it's too much if I say it's almost impossible, but it's very difficult to get any unbiased information in both countries about the other country, about the other people. So we started designing this visiting program, and then the earthquake happened. And then we said, shall we proceed or shall we cancel? But then we asked among our Turkish colleagues, and we said, no, let's continue, because this is important. Maybe it's more important doing this in this time. So when we got to Germany, I was feeling good because during the talks we had, I got the feeling that people were appreciating this initiative, because they were saying there's a certain momentum. So the Greek rescue team was in Turkey, and the Turkish people were very happy to have them there. The foreign minister Dendias was visiting Çavuşoğlu. There were these very, let's say, positive tweets of Mitsotakis about the earthquake, about the people who had to die. So there was a certain momentum, and we said it was a wise decision to continue with this visiting program. And I really felt that the people we talked to, they were saying there's a need for this kind of initiative. There's a need for Turkish-Greek program on journalism. And I think it was a good program with very fruitful discussions. And so now it's on us to do a follow-up to continue this path. The first very important step was done, but I think we will continue on this path and do things may be better than 1999 when the earthquake in the western part of Turkey happened. So there was already, I would say, rapprochement between the civil societies and media, but it seems to be it was not sustainable. So things have to change this time to have this sustainable relationship between these two countries and two people, and we don't want to have it dependent on the politics, on Ankara and Athens this time. So therefore, I think it was a very good visiting program, and I look forward for the follow-up projects on this. Thank you, Nikos.
It was Aret, and this podcast and the ones that we plan to have, it is going to be a continuation of this important initiative that we would like personally you and the Friedrich Naumann Foundation for this opportunity. Now I would like to pass the floor to a very good friend and academic, to Eylem, in order to introduce herself. Eylem.
Hello, thank you, Nikos, for the kind introduction. My name is Eylem Yanardagoglu. I am an associate professor at Kadir Has University Communications Faculty in Istanbul, but as you know, this year I'm based in Athens as a visiting scholar. I'm at Pantheon University and Eylem, and I was one of the participants of the visiting program that Aret Demirci just mentioned, and I also believe that it was a very fruitful visit, despite the difficulty of the event that was still with us. You know, we were trying to keep up with the news as well as the visits there. And maybe I can say a few words about the media in Greece and Turkey before and after.
After. Let's discuss it after, in order to have everyone the chance to present himself, herself. Thank you, Eylem.
Okay.
And we'll pass the floor to Erkan. Erkan.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm a professor of media studies at Istanbul Bilgi University. I mostly specialize on digital communications, and that include some work on political trolling and recently digital disinformation. And I have had some projects involved with major social media platforms. And I'll stop now.
Thank
Continue
you.
later.
Thank you, Erkan. Now we'll pass the floor to Sezin. Sezin.
I'm Sezin Öney. I'm a journalist and I'm also a political scientist. And I'm mostly writing columns at this period. And I was based in Greece for some years. Then afterwards, now I'm still traveling to Greece, but I'm mostly at Istanbul. And I couldn't participate in the visit, unfortunately, but I joined the band. And I hope this will be fruitful for all the listeners and the participants.
Thank you. Thank you, Sezin, as well, for the kind introduction. And now I would like actually to start the discussion about what do you think are the challenges for Greek and Turkish media. Christos, do you want to start?
The challenges, well, what has been disappointed me, in studying the media of both countries is that, both take it for granted that, this conflict is natural. It is a given, and they have, and they, in Greece at least, in the last 2 years, they are all talking about a possible accident, that will lead to war. It is if they are cultivating the idea, this is a self-fulfilling prophecy, that instead of saying, of arguing in terms of conflict resolution and finding, a way out of this, they are talking about a possible, mistake, a possible accident, because both sides feel that they are absolutely they have all the, the arguments in favor of them, that they are not wrong, that they are right, that it is always the other side that it is to blame for what is going on. Journalists invest in this confrontational logic. They give attention only to what is said by politicians and the military. They don't pay any attention to what is said by civil society or academics or journalists, that might have a different view. I grew up with this, I am 50 years old, and I remember this since I was a baby. So it's been going on for almost six decades. We consider it natural that it will always be there. Now, from my experience in journalism, because I've worked as a journalist for about 10 years, if you were a journalist and you wanted to say something different, to open, to provide the possibility of viewing, the conflict in a different way, and saying that at the end of the road there can be management and there can be a resolution of the conflict, you wouldn't say so, because you were afraid that your position or your idea was not dominant, it was not in the mainstream, and you were frightened that this might be laughed at, or you were frightened that this might not be accepted, and you had this spiral of silence, which might still be the case today. I don't know how it is, but it has infiltrated everywhere. I mean, the recent remark that Turkey will come to Greece some night, I saw it on a new sports paper, in Greece, when Olympiacos went to Istanbul a few weeks ago and won the local basketball team, and the title of the newspaper is "Who came in the end?" The night. So it's there, it's all there. And I think it's dangerous. It will get out of hand. So we need to invest, I think, on ways of understanding each other. We can do that, of course, through education. We can do that through. So we can do that. We can come together through many ways. In what they call low politics, although I don't consider them to be low politics, like working together on education, on the climate or whatever, terrorism, refugees, and understanding each other, but also journalism has to change, and unless journalism changes, unless journalists develop a different mindset, it will be very difficult to convince society. That is what we are working on at our department. We are trying, very hard to do that. We also have suspicion from students. They don't understand what we, sometimes what we are telling them, that perhaps, we should get into a dialogue with Turkey and resolve our conflicts. History, the way we teach history also has to change. Otherwise, the problem will always be there. You can see it in your country. For the last 45 years, you have grown up with a particular narrative. So how easy will it be to change this narrative? And for us, and I will close with this, in the last 5 to 6 years, it has been very difficult, to understand what actually citizens in Turkey are thinking, how they feel because of the consequences the attempted coup d'etat had in 2016. So I suggest that, how many are we here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we should work as a group and gradually see what we can do with this. And the earthquake has provided a window of opportunity, and the Greeks should realize that something similar can happen in Greece. It's not impossible. So we have to start working together and come together. That's it. Simple as that.
Eylem, the media landscapes, the challenges.
Yes. Okay. Well, I think we have some common difficulties in terms of the media landscape in both countries, and one of them is the low levels of trust that we keep finding in various research, various reports like Eurobarometer or other digital news reports that are published every year. That in Turkey, mistrust for media organizations is measured as high, and news literacy is low. So, for instance, less than 50% of the news readers say that they have trust in the news, and the Eurobarometer shows that Greece is one of the least trusting countries in the sort of the countries that are surveyed when it comes to trust. So I think this is one thing as media professionals, journalists, professors, that we need to work together on how to build trust for news organizations in order to establish better channels of communication between Greek and Turkish journalists and media professionals. I think one of the good starting points is that research also shows us that in both countries people believe in dialogue. I think this was the case before the earthquake. For instance, at Eylem we have been doing a public opinion survey since 2021, and in the final survey, for instance, we found that the majority of people in both countries believe that Greek-Turkish disputes can be resolved through dialogue and reconciliation. So this was more than 60% in both countries. So it's a very good place to start. We know that civil society, on the basis of citizens, there is this understanding that we can reconcile, we can create dialogue, and I think the earthquake. The rapprochement that started after the earthquake provides this moment once again to collaborate, to work together. And we have seen this in our visit as well. We have seen colleagues, Greek and Turkish journalists collaborating in various news organizations. So that was a very pleasant surprise. And I think given our challenges in the media environment about the lack of trust and polarized media environment, we can start with this belief, and we can do our best to enhance this belief that is already existing, that dialogue is possible. So I just maybe stop here for the others to comment.
Thank you, Eylem. And I think that one important aspect that you have highlighted, also following Christos' comments as well, it is the importance actually, or probably a way to cooperate is how to increase the level of trust in media. Let me now go to Sezin. Sezin, what do you think?
I was working with the Greek rescue teams back in 1999. For the last bits of the rescue efforts, and the much younger version of me had the whole perception of Greece and everything changing at that instance. Of course, I always had positive, or more trying to be positive perspective of Greece in general due to my political views and personal stance and everything. But it was the first time that there was a real dialogue channel opening. Although I grew up in the Aegean, Greece was really distant for me at the times when I was a child and a teenager. But afterwards, with this earthquake, with this very tragic instance, a channel opened, and I was also among the ones, colleagues who tried to do something at the time to build up civic initiatives and also journalistic initiatives so that the dialogue would continue. And it did. They were really successful. But somehow the politics is more persistent than we were. I think this was the problem, the issue. And at a certain point, the politics don't give up. They repeat the negative narrative, and they gain from the negative, this narrative. And at the end of the day, it is what prevails. I was living in Thessaloniki back in 2016 to 2020, on and off. And I also witnessed how things changed at that time, because right after the coup attempt in Turkey, there was a big sympathy to Turkish people coming there, and also the tragic situation of the politics in Turkey. But afterwards, then slowly it eroded, and what remained as the Turkish image, as Turkey's image, was only politics and not the people themselves. So somehow we lost that personalistic touch. Of course, it has to do with the nature of the media, because when it leads, as the saying goes, and there's always the interest in the negative headlines, of course. But at the same time, I think, as I mentioned, this politics know how to exploit the negative version of the everything. Then afterwards it becomes on the forefront, and nothing is remaining as the human side of the story. And with the earthquake instances, these very unfortunate instances, we once again rediscover our human side, and then things change. But this time we should be, I think, persistent and somehow go on and never lose the human side of the story, somehow presented behind the opinions as well. There is a person, a mind. So this communication of the minds may be changing things for at least some people on both sides.
Thank you, Sezin. Very important. I think that everywhere a dominant, let's say, phenomenon is where it leads. But I think that in our case, we should try to change this narrative, and especially identify the areas that we can actually work and overcome this kind of approach. I will now like to pass the floor to...
But Nikos, can I say something?
Yes.
Because can I say something to what has been saying? And the level of, and to what Eylem has been saying, the issue of trust in newspapers is important, but you know, this has been going on for 50 to 60 years, you know, the Greek-Turkish confrontational narrative debate on the newspaper. It is not something that we see now only in the last 10 years, you know, and because of the reduction of trust. And something else, because you are talking about, Sezin, about the human side, you know, if you go back to 1999, what made possible the turn of Greek-Turkish relationships was not the earthquakes. It was the crisis of EMEA, because both sides then realized, you know, that a war is possible. So what you saw then was that civil society came together to work on many issues: education, the environment, you know, history, culture, you know, even journalists developed these nice networks of friendships in Thrace and so on, you know, and they got prizes and so on, you know. And this made it easier for Semites or Gem in 1999 to come forward, you know. Turkey came forward with the idea that Cyprus should be part of the European Union. Greece, for the first time, lifted the embargo against Turkey. So I think that the effort should not only be on the human side. It should, you know, it should go deeper.
Yes.
Because, you know, journalists sometimes, not you, I'm not referring to you, you know, I mean, understand the human story in a shallow way.
I think that though the level of trust is an important element that we should have in mind, because it defines a lot to what extent media have possibilities in order to change the narrative. If no one believes them, then it will be very hard actually to intervene. But let's listen to Erkan as well. Erkan?
Hello. Well, I agree.
Hello, Erkan, you have a very nice smile.
Thank you. I agree with my colleagues and friends. Let me add to what's been said. I think, of course, there are a few major shifts. One is the media we talk about, and the trust in media. The media itself is changing, and maybe in building friendship, peace, etc. In future will depend on the new media outlets more than the ones we know. It can be a bridge to reach new demographics, new generations, etc. I'm not saying this out of wishful thinking. It just seems to be like that now. And secondly, another shift that I observe, I might be wrong, but in the old days when I grew up, there was this more ontological hostility towards Greece in society or in media. But after the let's say by the early 2000s, I don't see that all out generalized hostility towards Greece. In fact, this social aspects of it has been disappearing fast, and the most recent discourses by Turkish authorities, I don't think they have some resonance, a real connection to what society believes anymore, and also even the broken media system in Turkey is not really much interested in creating anti-Greece narratives at the moment. Yes, there are, but these are more specific topics than a general hostility, let me say, and hostile narrative. When it comes to the border refugees, yes, there is also some, territorial issues, but I don't see that a mobilization, anti-Greek mobilization in Turkish media anymore. There might be many reasons for that, but so that's a hopeful thing. That's my two big shifts. And in the meantime, as we have discussed before, there is nothing happens automatically. There is a relief, unfortunate relief, that after the recent earthquake, the hostile discourse in the mouths of the leaders disappeared because of this big tragedy. And sometimes we hope that this will automatically lead to more peaceful times. Of course, it doesn't, as we have seen before. So now we have to benefit from this, and we have to build on more sustainable communication between two countries. I think there is a good opportunity, but if we don't labor on it, people will revert back to the former, more hostile narratives. So there is the opportunity time, and I'm stopping here.
Aret, as someone being inside and outside at the same time, watching us from Bulgaria.
Yeah, thank you, Nikos. I mean, I just want to say that I am on the same page with Erkan when it comes to the following. I mean, the fact that this narrative of the current Turkish government about being surrounded by enemies is not an invention by this government. So this was always there. This is, in a way, the understanding of the world of the Turkish state, in a way. I don't know why, but this is the fact. So this we are surrounded by enemies, or the Turks only have Turks as friends. So this is something which is coming from even before this current government. So this is very old, I would say. But I think the current government is the first one to make use of this in a domestic manner. So what happens abroad, all the crises, all the tensions are very much used in domestic politics in the last 10 years, I would say. So this wasn't in the past before this government. But I think the earthquake really showed us that this is not the real world. And many people, I would say ordinary people, they now understood that all these tensions which were produced by politicians and by controlled media in Turkey, that this was not reflecting the reality. And the fact that the Greek rescue teams, they were the first ones to come, and also the solidarity wave which is happening in Greece. So all these donations of money and things which people need. This shows that there is no problem between ordinary people, between Turkey and Greece, but this was very much manipulated or produced by the politicians. And I think this is something very valuable, that people now understood this. I mean, we saw this headline. I don't give the name of this newspaper, but it is regarded as the most influential one in Turkey. The headline, Efkaristopoli towards the rescue team when they left Turkey. This shows that this narrative of the government has crashed. So, and I really hope that they won't get back to the old days in a few weeks. But we, as people from the civil society, we have to work on this, as Erkan Saka said. So we cannot leave it like this, because after a while this will be forgotten, and people or the government will start again to look for enemies. And if they don't have, they will produce their enemies.
And now this is my call for the last word from each of you regarding our first meeting that we're looking forward to continue it. Eylem.
Yes, I think we should not give up on these efforts. Just one final, remark on what Christos and Erkan said about the media, and why it, in my opinion, requires a bit more attention. That yes, the media is changing in both countries in different ways, but digitalization has its opportunities as well as its pitfalls. So that's why I think we should pay extra attention to the media changes in our countries, because this trust can go hand in hand with a piece of misinformation going viral completely, and it could actually contribute in a very negative way. It could be very, very counterproductive immediately, maybe more effective than the newspapers and the traditional media. And as we both know, in both of our countries, there are higher levels of reliance on news consumption via social media and digital media. In that sense, we need to be extra cautious about, the sources and what kind of information travels on these digital networks, and in what way it contributes for further understanding and dialogue, between the two countries and the civil society, and this is why trust becomes even more important in a digitalized and changing media environment. And I hope we will have more opportunities to put our efforts into establishing this kind of collaboration with the colleagues who are here. Thank you, Nikos, for giving us the opportunity again.
And Christos, together with Christos, we do this podcast, but now it's his turn actually for the final word. Christos?
This is my initiative, because I was born with this initiative, and I hope when I leave this world in about 30 to 40 years, the situation will have changed.
Thank you, Christos.
No, I can understand what Eylem is saying. Yes, of course, it's very important, but it's a significant thing. This development is significant in the sense that it might, make it worse. Yes, you're right. But this narrative was there, But listen, to be honest with you, journalists in both countries have failed. They are not doing their job properly, Journalists are not there to prepare people for a possible mistake or for a possible war, Journalists are there to explain that conflict is part of life, all right? That is not how societies develop and grow, but conflict does not necessarily need to end up in violence. And they have not done that. So, this is my, position, my belief. I know someone will hear it today and they will say, okay, there he goes again, the big traitor, the big, and things like this. But it's okay, This, σε ευχαριστώ πολύ, as Aret said, is enough to make me feel confident. And to be honest with you, I didn't see this anywhere in Greece. Did you see it, Nikos? That the newspaper came out with this title.
No, they didn't. Yeah. But they were overplaying actually the reactions of the Turkish daily people and everyone. So I think that in general something have changed. So it is up to us to
Okay, of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sezin?
Actually, we can. The issue is with journalists and media dialogue. This conversation going on, we should have many more initiatives building up between Turkey and Greece. One of them being the disaster preparation dialogue that should bring together many different parties, also scientific experts and other parties, including politicians, of course, or bigger parts of the civil society. I think this is something missing in general in the world. For example, also in East Asia, there are some initiatives building up in Asia in general, with ASEAN and other institutions. But I think with the climate crisis and other sorts of disasters that we have in certain regions, especially the need for preparedness for this will be a foundation for peace in the coming decades, because humanity will be all living beings will be facing crisis after crisis of these sorts, be it earthquakes or be it very strong hurricanes and extreme climate conditions and various other things. We will be needing each other more as in regional hubs. So I think we should pave the way for that as with this human dialogue. Because when I mentioned the human dialogue in this era, it's possible to see with a bit rosy glasses, that's true. But for example, you can have a new newscast or a podcast discussing cinema from New Zealand, and all of a sudden you build affinity with people who you would be never seeing in your lives.
Yes, now I understand what you are saying.
Yeah, so they become a sort of persona in your life, even though they're miles and miles away, and you're totally disconnected from them culturally. In that sense, we have much more chance between Turkey and Greece, because this affinity, these emotions build up in extreme situations all of a sudden very quick. These emotions are like earthquakes themselves. We become very emotional from both sides. Then afterwards, there are also negative sides of the emotions, so we can have very negative emotions building up sentiments coming up, erupting at the same time. So we have the lessons of 99 and post-99 dialogue building. So we can also learn from that and use the new technologies to do something perhaps better this time and more solid.
Thank you, Sezin. As I will now move to Erkan. As you have seen, I followed the same order in order to have good luck, because despite that we are ambassadors of logic in both countries, we still believe at the same things. Erkan?
I will just add to what has been said, and I said is whenever we are stuck on some topics, there is always new lines of mediation, and I believe, like like Sezin said, climate crisis. This might be a unifying theme. We need to expand the coverage, the topics that we cover on reporting, and maybe some traditional politics might not work in near future, but there are so many other social and economic and issues that we can focus on that will bring some peace and more collaboration, and digital media also allows that more than ever, maybe.
Thank you, Erkan. Aret?
Thank you, Nikos. I think we are about to finish this podcast. So thank you so much again for this initiative, Nikos. And I think it was a good discussion, and we saw that, it was confirmation of that we should continue on this path, that there's something needed from our side, from people, from media and civil society. And we as Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom, we are happy to support this initiative, because we think that it is really needed. And I hope that this will show some results, that we will see that we will have at least a small contribution to calm down the tensions between Greece and Turkey, and see that there are more things which we have in common than things which are different between these two people.
Thank you, Aret. It was the podcast Sundays of the World that we produced together with my colleague Χρήστος Φραγκονικολόπουλος.
Because you did not position yourself on all this.
But someone have to be the moderator. So
no, but we would like to hear your personal opinion.
You will hear my personal opinions in the second row of the podcast, where we will exchange positions. You're going to be the moderator, and then I'm going to be Christos, under my name, though, as Nikos. So we would like to thank all of you, especially our guest speakers that contributed in actually opening up a series of podcasts that it will follow regarding the role of media in Greece and Turkey. Thank you very much. Enjoy your Sunday.
Ήταν ένα podcast από την Athens Voice. Μπορείτε να ακούσετε τα podcast της Athens Voice στο athensvoice.gr και στο Spotify, στο Apple Podcast και το Google Play Music.